Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. LoFi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Jones on first down. Wide open, it's Barkley. And Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is his availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
It's 2 for 3. He's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees are not. They're even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio. And week 2 is upon us, and we got a big matchup in the AFC West. We got a matchup of 2 great quarterbacks, as we got Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers, and we got Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And this should be an outstanding game on Thursday night between these 2 teams and these 2 quarterbacks. And for this game, I think both these teams go back and forth. I think these teams go back and forth in this game. I know Mahomes is a little banged up, but I do think he's good. He's going to play. He's going to play well. I think these teams go back and forth. I think that Mahomes is a big game. He throws a couple touchdown passes. I think Justin Herbert has a big game. He throws a couple touchdown passes. I think it comes right down to the end. But I think what decides this game is I do think this Chiefs defense is going to force Justin Herbert to turn the ball over right at the end of the game. And that's why I got the Chiefs winning this one close. I mean, I think this is going to be a really, really close competitive game, just like it was last year on Thursday Night Football when they played at SoFi Stadium. I think it's going to be the same thing at Arrowhead Stadium on Thursday night. But I got the Chiefs winning this one close. I got the Chiefs beating the Chargers 34-27. But, Justin, I got the Chiefs winning this game. But can Justin Herbert lead the Chargers to their second straight win at Arrowhead Stadium?
I have the Chargers. I have the Chiefs as well, winning this game 31-27. Justin Herbert definitely can, and that team definitely can. I thought the defense played pretty well. They forced 3 Derek Carr turnovers last week. But I just think Patrick Mahomes will outduel Justin Herbert in this game. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. Both offenses have a lot of firepower, and the Chiefs didn't miss a beat last week, even without Tyreek Hill now. I think it's to be up and down. Yeah, I think, whoever has the ball last is going to win this football game. But, yeah, I think it's going to be very tough for the Chargers. They're still a little banged up. J.C. Jackson I think, is still probably going to be out, but I know he's still probably questionable. But so I think that will hurt them in the back end there. But yeah, I just think Patrick Mahomes, that Chiefs offense does a little bit more than Justin Herbert can in that Chargers offense in this game. And the Chiefs moved to 2-0.
Yeah, I would be shocked if J.C. Jackson plays. It looks like Keenan Allen isn't going to play. And with Keenan Allen not playing, that really means that the Chargers got to run the football better than they did against the Raiders. With Joshua Kelly, with Austin Eckler, those guys have to run the ball. I think that that's what has to happen for the Chargers to stay in this game. I think they're going to, because the Chiefs don't have a good run defense. But it is imperative for the Chargers to be able to run the ball. And as we know last year, Brandon Staley made a lot of bad in-game decisions. Brandon Staley cannot make bad in-game decisions this year like he did last year.
No, absolutely not, because it cost him a couple games last year, and especially in such a tight division like this is going to be in this AFC West. Those 1 or 2 games are going to cost you. So, yeah, absolutely. Staley's got to be a much better in situational spots this year. And yeah, the Chargers, they only averaged 2 yards a carry last week. They really couldn't get anything going. The Raiders' defensive line and that front seven is really good. We know the secondary is kind of their big issue, but yeah, the Raiders slowed them down. They should have a little bit more success, you hope, and they're probably gonna have. Yeah, they're gonna have to, because the first couple of years, Keenan Allen's been Justin Herbert's favorite target has been Keenan Allen. So. Yeah, it sounds like he's doubtful to play in this game. So yeah, that definitely could change the things that Herbert, they're going to have to, the Chargers are going to have to rely on that running game.
Yeah.
And keep Mahomes off the field.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's big. You definitely, you definitely have to keep Mahomes off the field. That is a huge key in the game, because I mean, if you keep Mahomes on the field like the Cardinals did on Sunday, he is going to have a humongous game. Like you did. You want to keep them off the field, keep that offense off the field, and limit how many times they have the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to, because that team will put up points. They put 44 on Sunday. Against anybody. They could put up 30 points against pretty much anybody. So yeah, you want to keep Mahomes off the field and limit his opportunities, because they're just too good. If you give them multiple chances, with the football, they're going to make you pay for it.
Oh, without question. So it should be a great game Thursday night, a rematch of a game that was a great game last year on Thursday Night Football. I expect the same tomorrow night when these two teams go at it. But we got a interconference matchup in Dallas as Joe Burrow, two teams that are trying to get their first win. Joe Burrow and the Bengals, who lost a game they should have never lost on Sunday. And then you got the Dallas Cowboys, who I don't care what Jerry said, are going to be without their quarterback probably for the first half of the season. I mean, and we'll start with that. I mean, I don't care what Jerry Jones says about, he's going to be back by week 6, week 5 or 6. No, he's not. The earliest Dak Prescott is going to play is week 10 against the Packers. He is not going to be back before then. I don't care what Jerry Jones says. I don't get the fact why the Cowboys aren't just putting him on IR. And I think they're just wasting a roster spot, keeping him on the roster. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they're doing that. And I think the Cowboys are going to be in for a very, very rough start. Out of their first 8 games, you look at their schedule. Obviously, this week, the Bengals, and they go to the Giants on Monday Night Football. They play Washington at home. Then they go to the Rams. They go to the Rams. They do have a couple easy games there with Chicago, and they got Chicago and Detroit. But still, looking at this schedule, I could see them at best, finishing being 2-6 before Dak comes back.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a tough one. They also play the Eagles on the road on a Sunday night. That's not going to be an easy one either. Yeah, it's going to be a long couple weeks for Dallas. And can you think of any other owner that actually goes on shows and actually does the talking?
I know.
He's the only owner. Does it, but unless it, I don't know why they won't put him on air. I don't know if Jerry is just trying to, playing that classic game of maybe in a couple of weeks, Dak may play and trying to fool an opponent. But again, I don't really think that works. Anyways, well, I don't know. You saw the Cowboys offense really struggle against a Buccaneers secondary that still has some holes, but it is a little bit better. And they really struggled to get anything going. We know about the run defense, but Dak was first 6 for 16, something like that. Like, it was ugly. Now you want Cooper Rush to come in there and try to save it. It's not going to happen. That Dallas offense is really going to struggle. Yeah, I could really see them being 2-6. It's going to be a long 2 months without Dak Prescott. And I couldn't believe that Cowboys fans were actually chucking. Did you see that video? They were chucking garbage at Dak when he left the field the other night.
Why?
Dak.
Why?
I have no idea.
I mean, no. I mean, what happened in the off? Look at what happened in the offseason. They let Lyle Collins walk. They traded Amari Cooper. What do you expect against the front seven that good? How do you expect your quarterback's going to play? Yeah, all right. He's not a top 5 quarterback, but he's good enough to win a Super Bowl being in the right organization. Obviously, he's not in the right organization, but he can compete for he's a quarterback who can compete for a championship being in the right organization. And here's Hector's comment. What if, for argument's sake, the Bengals lose and they go 0-2? We'll get to that when we talk about the game. But first, talking about Dak, yeah, I mean, how is that? I think that was absolutely ridiculous. The Cowboy fans just blamed that on Dak. The offensive line was terrible. The receiving core was terrible. They had one good receiver out there, CeeDee Lamb, and they couldn't run the ball. There's really nothing Dak really could have. I mean, Dak obviously could have been better, but it's very difficult to play under those circumstances, especially against a front seven like that.
Yeah, absolutely it is. I couldn't really believe they were doing that. And again, they're going to be praying for Dak to be back because you know Cooper Rush ain't doing anything anytime soon here. So they're going to be praying for him to have him back. So yeah, I couldn't understand it either. They were awful. They're the only team in the NFL that not score a touchdown last week. They got held to field goal. So yeah, they'll be it's I don't know how you blame him as a fan base. I don't know how you blame Dak for that performance. Everything around him on offense was not great, especially what they did in the offseason.
Absolutely. And for the game on Sunday, I think the Bengals win it. I think they win it pretty convincingly. I mean, Zach Taylor, he had a horrible game last Sunday. I mean, punting the ball with not letting the play clock run down, giving the Steelers 13 extra seconds, that's inexcusable. Not challenging the Jamar Chase play, that's inexcusable. Zach Taylor had a really, really poor game last week. But the problem is the Bengals have much more talent than the Cowboys, and that's why I think the Bengals win this game. I got them winning at 30-10. But Hector posed a question I think we should talk about. If the Bengals lose and they are 0-2, are they in trouble? And in my opinion, I absolutely think the Bengals are in trouble if they're 0-2. If they're 0-2 and they lose to a Dallas team with Cooper Rush as their quarterback, and they're playing in this tough an AFC, and they play in a tough division too with Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. They are in huge. This is a must-win for the Bengals. They are in huge trouble if they lose this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if you see at the end of the 0-2, but there's a little like OBJ thing there.
He's not going to the Bengals. He's not going to the Bengals. That team is way too deep at receiver for OBJ to go there.
I would think, unless if somebody gets hurt this week, then I could possibly see him going there. They are very deep there now. Maybe it's probably one of the more unlikely spots. But yeah, I think they could be in trouble. You got a coach too, that you mentioned. Yeah, he's made a lot of mistakes over the first goal. Last year, I thought he had a pretty good year for the most part. I do have the Bengals win this game 26-14. I think they got to be able to win this game. Yeah, if they lose to the Cowboys with Dak now not playing, you lose a game to Cooper Rush. I know we beat Minnesota last year, that Sunday night game, but you can't lose this game. I thought they played a little bit better in the second half. I think Burrow's gonna be playing better. It seems like all these teams that don't play their starters week one, they don't play their starters in the preseason. There's a lot of rust on them. And I thought Joe Burrow looked a little bit better in the second half. So, I think maybe that rust has got off him a little bit. And I think the Bengals do play a lot better on Sunday. They have to. I think they win by a couple of scores here against the Cowboys Sunday.
And you made a great point. Teams that don't play their guys in the preseason have been rusty. The Rams, the Titans, the 49ers, the Bengals, the Packers, the Raiders, the Cowboys, all those teams didn't play their guys in the preseason, and they all lost. The Broncos, all those teams didn't play anyone outside. Maybe the Niners played Trey Lance for a couple series, but most of those teams didn't play anyone in the preseason, and they all lost. So that's a great point. So as much as you don't want to get guys hurt in the preseason, you have got to get them reps, and week one proved that. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a lot of teams that really struggled this week in luck because they just because you see it in college football, you don't have preseason. You really see week one. A lot of these guys are rusty. They're kind of timing's off and all that. It's I know you don't want guys getting hurt. I know that's an important thing, but yeah, you got to get some of these guys reps because practice doesn't do it. You need the game speed. You need because for a lot of these teams, they're done first week of January, and now it's 7-8. You're done late early June or January. You get back here in August, it's 6-7 months. You kind of lose some of your without playing a game. So yeah, that all kind of goes away for a bit. So yeah, I think it's important to at least play your starters for at least maybe a half for one of the 3 games. But lot of teams don't do it now. And yeah, I get it, but yeah, you don't want to start out to a bad start, especially if you got a really tough division. You lose a division game right off the bat, it could hurt a little bit.
Absolutely. That's what the Bengals did on Sunday. But we will talk about another AFC North team. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And before we talk about their game against the Patriots, TJ Watt is going to be out 6 weeks for the Steelers. And the Steelers are lucky that it isn't the entire season, but this is still a huge, huge loss. And obviously, looking at this schedule, it is favorable for them. I mean, they got the to start out, they got the Patriots this week, the Browns on the road. That'll be tough, but it's not impossible without Watt. The Jets, they should win, but it gets tough at the end. They play the Bills and the Bucs, and then at the Dolphins and at the Eagles. So say Watt doesn't come back before the bye week, really the back half of that schedule is really difficult for them. And this is a team that with TJ Watt, maybe in Mike Tomlin, maybe I don't think they were ever going to be Super Bowl contenders, but maybe they could have been a team they could have done what they did last year and sneak into the playoffs. I definitely think they could have snuck in the playoffs, but this injury is definitely gonna hurt them. Even though their schedule's easy to start, the first couple of weeks Watt's out. The last 2 or 3 weeks Watt is out. Their schedule definitely gets tough.
Yeah, absolutely. TJ Watt's been, since coming on the scene, one of the best defensive players, in the league last year, had such an unbelievable year, with the 22 and a half sacks and, 16 games. He had an unbelievable season. So yeah, he's, he's a different maker in that defense, and the Steelers still have a pretty good defense, and he's missed some time. So the Steelers, have been used to it a little bit that he hasn't been on the field. But yeah, he makes such a difference maker. You kind of first couple of weeks without him. Yeah, the opponents, their games are definitely winnable. So that does help at the beginning here. But yeah, he's been an unbelievable force. It does hurt because when you play the Bills and you play the Bucs, those are two teams that you want a guy like that can get after the quarterback and make a difference in those games. But yeah, it's been a tough loss. And again, he probably would have been a game wrecker this week against the Patriots because that Patriots offensive line can't block anybody.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about the Patriots and as they go to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. And I think they're not going to get blown out again. I don't think the Patriots get blown out again. I think this is a close competitive game. I think for the Steelers, I think Najee Harris has some success on the ground. I think Mr. Trubisky doesn't make a ton of big plays, but he manages the game just like he did last week. And I think I think Mac Jones plays okay, but I think the problem for the Patriots is going to be when they get in the red zone, they're going to kick field goals. I think the game's going to come right down to the end where Mac Jones is going to have to make a play, and I don't think he makes a play. And that's why I got the Steelers going to 2-0 and the Patriots to go to 0-2. I got the Steelers beating the Patriots 20-16. But Justin, can Mac Jones have a bounce back game and get the Pats to 1-1?
I hope, but I won't blame him because there's nothing around him. I got the Steelers 21-16. I can't blame him because there's been zero help around him. The offensive line stinks. The running games, the running backs aren't bad. So I like Stevenson and I like Harris. I don't know why. Why is Kendrick Bourne not on the field? He played 2 plays on Sunday.
That made no sense at all. Why would you have Nelson Aguilar on the field over Kendrick Bourne?
I don't know. And it was like a Bill answer too. It was like it's what it is. One of those cliches he would.
Yeah, well, he's got to stop with some of these cliches because they keep losing. These cliches are not. He's got to stop with the cliches because they're not going to be good if he keeps losing games. Not going to keep getting away with giving the media nothing if he keeps losing these games.
No, absolutely, and he can't because it's I don't get it because Nelson Aguilar has stone hands. He can't catch a football. Hunter Henry's decent, but the offensive line, it's a struggle. He got sacked. I think he got sacked 4 or 5 times. I wanted to see them run play action more this week because Mac Jones was really good off play action last year. I think he completed almost 70% of his passes last year off of play action. That really worked for him last year. They didn't run it much at all. That's stuff I wanted to see getting back to. Again, there's just no help. Patricia and Judge really, I can't see them developing him the way because it's unfortunate because I think he'd be an above average quarterback if you give him enough around. You gave him a competent. If you gave him 2 guys that knew a little bit about offense, so I think they struggle against a Pittsburgh team that is going to get after him. I think they're going to have a couple sacks. their run game may do, if they averaged, I think, 3.5 yards per carry last week, maybe it's something around there again, but it's just not enough. And I think there's a turnover too, and the Steelers take advantage of it.
I just think, as we've been saying all offseason, Mac Jones just doesn't have enough on offense. And the offensive line, the last year, the big thing was the offensive line was good. The offensive line has definitely gotten worse. The biggest thing for the Pats this week is I said the same thing last week, and they definitely didn't do it. They got to run the ball, get a lead early, and then get ahead so Dietrich Wise and Matt Judon can get after Mitch Trubisky. Because again, if they can get up by 2, it's really whatever team gets up by a couple scores is going to win this game. Just like last week with the Patriots and Dolphins. Whatever team gets up by a couple scores is going to win this game because neither of these quarterbacks, the Pats with their weapons and the Steelers with their quarterback play, neither of these offenses are going to come back from 2 scores down. So it's really whoever gets a lead early is probably going to win this football game. So that's the biggest key for the Patriots this week. Just like last week, they didn't do that. But again, they need to get out in front early. And I think they'd be in good shape in this game. But seeing their offense, I don't think they're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, they had a great opening drive, I felt like, until the pick. And that kind of –
That summed up the day,
do much after that.
That play completely summed up the day.
Oh, yeah. I knew after that, I'm like, it's going to be a long day. Because I felt like, I don't know if they're going to get something back to that. And they really didn't. Whatever. If pass interference or not, I don't know,
It doesn't matter if it was pass interference. It was a bad decision. How are you? I mean, you're dinking and dunking. You're staying away from. You're running the ball. You're dinking and dunking. You're staying away from Xavier and Howard the entire drive. Then you take a shot. You throw at Xavier and Howard with a receiver that can't get any separation. So that was a bad decision by Mac Jones.
No, and I think he was hoping he was going to get the free play there with the pass interference. I think that was his thought process, and it didn't end up working out for him. Because I like that they took a shot, but that's not the guy I would have picked up. That would have gone the other way. But I don't know. Maybe he saw something. I'm not sure. But it wasn't the greatest decision there. But it was a frustrating day. That kind of summed it up. And the Miami kind of took advantage of that. They didn't never look back into that play.
No, absolutely. And it was a really, really rough afternoon for the Patriots offensively. And we'll see if they can bounce back this week. But let's get to the Giants, and they're coming off a humongous win in Brian Daboll's opening game. Saquon Barkley was outstanding with 164 rushing yards. The defense kept them in the game. They played well. Daniel Jones, yes, he had a horrible interception in the fourth quarter, but he bounced back, drove them down the field, and threw that touchdown pass to Chris Myrick. And then Brian Daboll taking a risk and being able to go for 2. It worked, and then the Titans missed the field goal. Giants start 1-0. And they got their home opener this week against the Panthers, and I think they go to 2-0. I think this defense contains Christian McCaffrey. I think they get pressure on Baker Mayfield. Yes, I do think Mayfield makes some plays like he did last week to DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. But I do think there's going to be a turnover each way. I do think Daniel Jones, I think he'll play okay like he did last week. But I do think there's going to be that turnover because there always is that turnover with Daniel Jones. And I think definitely there'll be that turnover. I think this will be a close competitive game at the end with the ball in Baker Mayfield's hands. And I think the Giants defense makes that play at the end of the game. I think it could either be a sack by Kayvon Thibodeau or a pick by Xavier McKinney. But I think that this Giants defense makes that play at the end of the game. And that's why I got the Giants going to 2-0. Beating the Panthers 24-20. But Justin, can Baker Mayfield have another solid game and get the Panthers to 1-1?
I get the Giants moving at 2-0, and I get the Giants win this game 23-17. I think Baker, he had a really slow start. That first half was not great. He got it going a little bit there in the second half. But I think Baker makes that mistake or two. I think, the way the Giants kind of looked last week, I think now you add Kayvon Thibodeau on the end here. I think against that Panthers offensive line, I think he could kind of burst on the scenes here and have a couple of big plays. Like even if he doesn't get the sack, again, I could see him maybe forcing Baker to make that bad throw. It's somebody picking off or, so something like that. A couple of those plays I could see him making in this game. And I think Baker, Panthers, think they do run I think McCaffrey runs the ball a little bit better than he did last week. Yeah, he only had 33 yards and 10 carries. But I think the Giants, I think that there's a lot from just last week. You can tell this is a different Giants team from last year. And I think in a home opener, again, I think that fan base now, I I think there's a lot more excitement now with this team that there's, again, maybe this year's not a playoff team, but I think the future is much brighter than it has been the last couple of years. And I think the home crowd carries them to the win. I really like the mojo right now with the Giants, and I'll take the Giants to beat Baker Mayfield, the guy that we know he's okay.
And you made a great point about the fans getting excited. They are really, really excited for this new regime. And I think that crowd is going to be loud. I mean, really, really loud on Sunday afternoon. And you said it with Brian Daboll. I mean, he's starting to change the culture here and going up to Daniel Jones, holding him accountable. Ben McAdoo wasn't going to do that. Pat Shurmur wasn't going to do that. And neither was Joe Judge going to do that. If any of those three guys are coaching that game, the Giants lose that game. The difference in that game was Brian Daboll going up to Daniel Jones, holding him accountable, and then Jones driving them down the field to get that touchdown. And I wouldn't have cared if they missed it. I really wouldn't have cared because he's trying to change the culture. He's trying to build an identity with this team that we're going to be aggressive. I would not have cared if they missed it. I would have not criticized Daboll for that move if they would have missed it. But they end up getting the 2-point conversion, and just it was a great day to be a Giants fan. It was a great win. I know the Titans aren't as good as last year, and they're a fringe playoff team, but it's a decent team on the road, and with the beginning of a new regime, and really a great first win for Brian Daboll.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm right there with you. If they got the 2-point conversion or not, I wouldn't be sitting here today doubting him and kind of calling him out on that. I thought that was great. I think it shows true confidence. Like, hey guys, you guys can go get this. We can go get the 2-point conversion right here. I trust Daniel Jones to go make the right play. So yeah, I think Daboll, the guts there. Again, on the road as an underdog, go for it. You got nothing to lose too. Yeah, I think that really changed the culture of that team, and I think that was huge. And yeah, Titans. Yeah, they're not bad, and I thought they did a decent job there against Derrick Henry too. I thought they did a decent job on the ground, slowing him down. So yeah, I think this Giants team. I think Daboll, so far so good. I know Joe Judge kind of got off. We all thought Joe Judge was going to do a good job. Obviously, that did not turn out well at all. But yeah, I think Brian Daboll's already made a big difference in that team. And I thought the play calling too. I thought there was a lot more creativity than we've seen the last couple of years from that offense. And it's like Daniel Jones has some mobility. You have so many weapons. Kadarius Toney, I thought really played well. I thought maybe more touches from him, but I thought when he got the ball, he looked pretty good. So yeah, I think with all the Giants, what they have, I think it's smart with all the creativity. I think it really made a difference too.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be happy to be a Giants fan right now. Yeah. Do we know if Daniel Jones is the quarterback going forward? No. But the one thing the Giants do know is we got our coach going forward. I think we got our coach for at least the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I know they were down. Your GM was down watching Anthony Richardson on Saturday night. I think that may have been the last time they visit him. But who knows if Daniel Jones is the guy or not? He played well. Again, it's a prove it year for him, and I think he's finally got a coach that will help him get to his potential, or the potential I think you hope he has. We'll find out if he's got it or not, but I think he's playing under the right guy here. And yeah, it's probably the first time he's been held accountable since college. David Cutcliffe was a very good college coach. He was Eli's coach. That's why the Giants loved him. So we'll see there. But yeah, this is a big year for Daniel Jones, and I think he's finally got a coach that could push him in the right direction.
Absolutely. So we got an NFC South matchup in New Orleans as the 1-0 Bucks face the 1-0 Saints, and I think this is a really, really good game. I think this game can go either way. Even though the Bucks, won, they really didn't convert. They weren't Brady. Brady was good. He wasn't great. He had the interception. They kicked 4 field goals. That's why I think this game is going to be tight. I think this Bucks Saints game is going to be tight. Obviously, the Saints have played the Bucks really, really tough since Tom Brady has been there. This is the team that has them and the Rams. The Saints and the Rams have given Brady the most trouble since he's been in Tampa. I think this is going to be a close, competitive game. I think the Bucks will do a good job on the ground with Fournette. I do think they're going to settle for some field goals because Marshawn Lattimore always has his way with Mike Evans, and I think that happens on Sunday. So I don't think the Bucks will convert in the red zone. The Saints will move the ball a little bit. I think that Winston will have a pretty good game, but I think he'll make that big mistake when it counts, and that's why I got the Bucks going to 2-0, and I got them beating the Saints 26-20 in New Orleans. But Justin, can the Saints continue to have Brady in the Bucks number?
I wouldn't be shocked, but I think Brady gets over the hump this time. I got the Bucks 24-20. I think Brady, again, I thought Julio Jones looked really good. I think now that he didn't have a washed up Matt Ryan or a Ryan Tannehill being his quarterback, I think, having Tom Brady made a difference for him. Fournette that looked like a Jacksonville Leonard Fournette, back when he was playing with the Jaguars. I thought he played really well. I think Brady finally gets over the hump. Brady, this has been his kryptonite here, but at some point, Brady always finds his way. I think this is the one. I think Julio Jones, because, as you mentioned, Mike Evans is really struggling to Lattimore. I think Julio Jones is kind of the big difference maker at wide receiver in this game. Their offensive line, we know it's kind of really banged up right now. I think the Saints will get after him, and I think, Brady probably makes it. I wouldn't be shocked if he throws a pick in this game, but I think they overcome it. I think Tampa Bay goes down to New Orleans, and Brady finally gets a win against them in the regular season.
We got an AFC matchup in Baltimore as the 1-0 Dolphins face the 1-0 Ravens. And I think this is another really close competitive game. I think both defenses play well. I think both teams struggle to run the football because both teams struggled to run the football last week. I think it's close, it's competitive, and it's going to come down to the end. But I'm going to take the team with the better quarterback, and I got the Ravens going to 2-0, beating the Dolphins 23-17. But Justin, can Tua and the defense lead the Dolphins to a 2-0 start?
I don't think so. I got the Ravens as well, 23-14. Tua, I thought Tua played pretty well last week. I thought he did well. I thought Mike McDaniels did a pretty good job coaching wise, making the bold move there in the 4th and 8, late in the half. They're late in the half there to really kind of take that game over. But I think they showed to run the ball. I think the Ravens probably make it as hard for him to run the football this week. And I think, Tua probably makes a couple of mistakes in this game. I think Lamar Jackson makes him pay. Again, he threw the ball really, really well last week. And it was surprising because they did not run the ball well at all. But Lamar Jackson did with his arm. I think he'd do the same this week. I don't think Tua in that offense will keep up. I get the Ravens to win by 2 scores.
We got an NFC matchup in Detroit as the 1-0 Commanders face the 0-1 Lions. And I think this is going to be a really close competitive game. I think that Jared Goff plays well. Like the running game, I think DeAndre Swift has a really good game on the ground. He had a big game against the Eagles. I think he has a big game against the Commanders. I think Wentz plays well. But again, I think Wentz makes that one critical mistake. He makes that one critical mistake that he makes every game. And unlike last week, I think that mistake's going to cost him on the road. And that's why I got the Lions beating the Commanders 27-23. But Justin, can Carson Wentz lead the Commanders to a 2-0 start?
I get the Commanders as well. I got him win this game 28-23. I thought, Wentz made a couple bad decisions last week with the 2 interceptions, but I thought other than that, he looked pretty good with Ron Rivera in that offense. I think they go on the road to win. I think I'll trust Washington's defense to get a stop more than I trust the Lions right now. DeAndre Swift's probably gonna have a big day, but I'll take Carson Wentz in that offense to figure out a way to get by the Lions defense. I think Antonio Gibson could have a big game on the ground as well. Detroit really showed those stopped the run last week. So I'll take Carson Wentz to go on the road, get a win in Detroit, and they'll move to 2-0.
We got a AFC matchup in Cleveland as the Jets go to Cleveland face the Browns. But the bigger story with the Jets is their coach's comments on Monday. How ridiculous were Robert Saleh's comments on Monday? I'm going to keep receipts. Yeah, we're going to turn this around, and I'm keeping receipts. Dude, stop worrying about what everybody else thinks. Ignore the noise. Stop worrying about what everyone else thinks. I mean, the same thing happened last year when Rex Ryan called about. Stop worrying about that. You're 4-14 as a head coach. Get your team to play better. Stop worrying about, we're going to turn this around. That's a terrible, terrible thing for a head coach to say. I feel like, Robert Saleh with that comment is starting to lose his fan base. I think the Jets I think the Jets are definitely going to be worse than I think now. And I think the Jets could be in for a long year. I mean, this is a big game in Cleveland. If they could bounce back, it would be huge for them. But I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening at all. I got the Browns winning this one. I got the Browns winning it big. Seeing the Jets injuries on the offensive line, with Dwayne Brown out, I think Myles Garrett has a field day. I think they struggle to run the ball. I think Nick Chubb has another big day on the ground. And I got the Browns winning this by 3 scores. I think the Jets will be the one team in week 2 that doesn't score a touchdown. And they shouldn't have scored a touchdown in week 1 because the only reason they scored a touchdown is because of Lamar's bad interception. But I got the Browns winning this game 20-7-6. And really the big question is why aren't the Jets not starting Mike White? It makes no sense why they have a statue they have a statue like Joe Flacco behind there with a bad offensive line.
I don't know. Sal's comments were, that's again, welcome to New York, man. There's that is New York media right there. Very Hector, very emotional game for DJ Reed last week, the interception for his dad. Yeah, that was
absolutely. Absolutely. We won't leave that out. Very, very emotional. Yes, we definitely will not leave that out. But yeah, very, very emotional moment for DJ Reed. Absolutely. Thank you for that comment, Hector. But moving on to Sal's comments, those comments were just, in my opinion, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just that it's a New York market, man, and again, San Francisco's a pretty big market, but I know nothing compares to New York, and you're talking like that, man. It's not that that's how. Yeah, I agree with it. That's how you lose fans very, very quickly here, and that's not a good look. And I thought Robert Saleh was going to be a pretty good hire for him. It has not really turned out that way. I know that a lot of injuries have kind of hurt that, but yeah, I think he really lost the fan base with that one. And then with the Mike White thing, the only thing I could come up with is, are they too scared that Mike White's going to throw for 400 yards and they're going to want Mike White instead of Zach Wilson as their franchise quarterback?
Funny, I heard that someone else said that this week. They're afraid that Mike White is better than Zach Wilson, and they're afraid that they're afraid that Mike White is better than their number 2 pick.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of. And Mike White showed some good last year, but again, when it was like good teams, I thought he really struggled. But if they're thinking that way though, then everybody in that organization should be fired though. That they're like, oh, the fans are not going to be, if they don't have confidence already in Zach Wilson, they can't get the job done, or they're scared that the fans are going to get on them if they bring back Zach Wilson and Mike White plays well. Then that kind of just shows that Saleh is thinking the fans and what everybody thinks. And it kind of went to your point where you started with. So, yeah, I'm kind of worried about the Jets right now. And, 10 points may be a little bit too generous for them. But I think, Cleveland wins this game 24-10. I think, Cleveland may make a mistake or two offensively that keeps the Jets in the game. But, yeah, Cleveland should win this game by a couple of scores. That defense is going to, Joe Flacco is going to have a long day because he cannot move anymore.
No, and the problem is the Jets have Raptors as an organization. That just never works in the NFL, caring about what people think. Yeah, I mean, and saying, oh, I'm gonna keep receipts. Dude, win football games. You're 4-14. Stop worrying about keeping receipts.
Yeah. You win football games, you're not going to talk like that. But, he's worried about all that and what the fans are saying. Again, you're in the wrong industry if that's kind of your line of thinking right now. You're kind of thinking about what everyone else thinks. So, yeah, it's not a good look, and that's kind of how absolutely how you get your fan base to turn on you, saying stuff like that.
Absolutely. So we got an AFC South matchup in Jacksonville as the Colts, who tied last week, face the Jaguars, lost a tough game this week. And I'm going with the upset here. I'm going with the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars defense contains Matt Ryan and Jonathan Taylor and keeps them in the game. And I think Trevor Lawrence, he played okay last week. He wasn't great. He did throw that big interception at the end. But I think he comes up with a big drive at the end. I think that Etienne Robinson played good. I think Trevor Lawrence goes up with a big drive at the end. And I think he leads the Jaguars to a win on that drive. And I think the Jaguars go to 1-1. And I think they pull the upset and win this game 24-21 over the Colts. But Justin, can the Colts get revenge on what happened in Jacksonville last year?
I think they do. I got Colts win this game 24-17. They got to do a lot better job of protecting Matt Ryan this week. They did a horrible job last week. Now, Matt Ryan didn't look great at all. I think they play a little bit better. I think Jonathan Taylor does have another big game on the ground. I think they keep the ball away from Jacksonville enough. I think, Matt Ryan plays better. I think they finished in the red zone 2 this week. They were 2 for 5 last week in the red zone. I think they had opportunities to win that game last week. They didn't really finish them at all. I think Eddie does bounce back this week in Jacksonville, and they find a way to get the win. But I wouldn't be totally shocked because, I thought the Jaguars looked pretty good last week. I know, eventually they showed the big against once, but I thought Lawrence did okay, and I think that offense looked a whole lot better than it did last year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the culture is going to change. And I mean, it'll look like a functioning NFL team, and it absolutely did not last year. With Doug Peterson, it definitely will look like a functioning NFL team. So we got a matchup in Vegas where Kyler Murray heads to Vegas to face Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders. Both teams coming off losses last week. And I think this is a very, very close, competitive game. But in the end, I'm going to take the team that has the better roster. I'm going to take the Raiders because I think Derek Carr is a big game against this Cardinals defense. And I do think that this Raiders front four with Crosby and Chandler Jones is going to get pressure on Kyler Murray and force a mistake or two. And that's why I got the Raiders going to 1-1, beating the Cardinals 31-24. But Justin, can Kyler Murray outduel Derek Carr to get the Cardinals to 1-1?
No, I get the Raiders as well, 31-21. I just don't think they have the firepower right now without DeAndre Hopkins. You saw last week, they just looked overmatched against the Chiefs. And I think it's going to be the same thing this week. I think Devontae Adams is going to torch him through the air. Well, I think Carr targeted him 17 times last week. Adams caught 10 of them. Yeah, I think Murray's going to have a rough day against that Raiders front four. I don't think the block is be able to I don't think they're going to be able to protect very well up for him. I think he probably makes a couple of mistakes. I think, and I think Carr plays a lot better this week, and I don't think he'll make as many I don't think he'll throw 3 picks again. I was never a big fan of giving Kyle Murray $49 million a year. And again, I think this week yet again is going to prove that he's not worth that type of money.
Yeah, we'll see. I think he'll play well. I just think that Derek Carr will play better. That's why I think the Raiders will win. But we got an AFC matchup in Denver between the Texans and the Broncos, and this is a game that the Broncos have much more talent where Nathaniel Hackett can't screw it up. I think that the Broncos will win it. I think they'll get the run game going with Javonte Williams, who had a really good game last week. I think Russell Wilson will play well. And on defense, I think they'll get – Davis Mills will make some plays. He played well last week against the Colts, but he won't be able to make enough plays. That's why I got the Broncos beating the Texans 27-13. But the bigger story with the Broncos is Nathaniel Hackett. That coaching performance was absolutely terrible coaching performance by Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, you have a minute to go and you don't call a timeout. Then you kick a 64-yard field goal and you take the ball out of a quarterback's hands. You're paying $49 million a year. It is absolutely pathetic and inexcusable to take the ball to Russell Wilson's hands there. It is awful. I mean, all the penalties they had, getting 3 points in the red zone, a terrible debut. I mean, Wilson wasn't great, but but Hackett was much worse. Hackett looked like he did not belong as an NFL head coach. And the big question this week is he can he give another game away for the Broncos?
I would hope not against the Texans. Even though I like Davis Mills, though. Davis Mills may be their franchise quarterback. He may never be great, but he'll be serviceable. I think Denver wins this game 23-17. That Daniel Hackett, he made Hugh Jackson look like a genius. I felt like.
Oh my God, he was absolutely. That was so pathetic. There's like 4 minutes to go, and there's like a minute to go. They're snapping the ball every time on that last drive. They're snapping the ball with like 3 seconds to go. I mean, you got Russell Wilson as your quarterback. Come on, he could score a touchdown in like 2 minutes. And then you saw the way Bradley Chubb was getting to getting Geno Smith in the second half. There's no way Geno Smith was going to – if you scored a touchdown, there was no way Geno Smith was driving down the field to tie that game. So I mean, just pathetic clock management, pathetic decision-making by Nathaniel Hackett. And I'm telling you one thing. He will be the reason why if the Broncos miss the playoffs, he will be the reason why the Broncos miss the playoffs.
I'm right there with you. He's bad. Then I think Brian McManus, I think is 0 for 6, outside of like 60-yard field goals, away from like Denver or whatever. So it was like, I just didn't understand it. Yeah. Then
completely
on the fourth down, he wasted the 15 seconds.
What are you doing? Why are you letting the clock run down? Call the timeout with like a minute to go. What are you doing watching the clock run down? It was absolutely horrible. The guy was unprepared to be a head coach for that game. And I think he's in over his head. I think this head coach is in over his head. And the only reason the Broncos hired him was to try to get Aaron Rodgers to come, to try to get the quarterback to come. That's the only reason why the Broncos hired Nathaniel Hackett.
I think I'm right there with you with that. Yeah. With that theory. Cause he looked so unprepared. I'm like, you played Madden a couple of times. You figure out some clock management stuff. Like, this is something you can figure out when you're 8 years old. You kind of learn some of this stuff. And it looked like he He absolutely looked like he was over his head. He looked like he had no idea what he was doing out there. And I could totally see him being the reason to hold the Broncos back. Yeah, and I think part of the reason why Russell wanted to get out of Seattle was because they always kind of held them back offensively. And yet Hackett did it right there again to Russell Wilson. At his former, in his former house, they're all booing him. Let him again. I know he's an analytical guy. The percentages were, I don't know, but I would think with Russell Wilson, your percentages are probably higher of converting the 4th and 5 than hitting a 60-yard field goal, not in Denver. I could be wrong, but I would think there's a better opportunity for that.
Absolutely, the percentages are higher on 4th and 5 against against a defense that they got a bunch of yards against instead of kicking a 64-yard field goal.
Yeah, I didn't understand it, and he'll then be the reason why he owed that team back. That was horrible. That was as bad as a coaching performance as you could have, and there's been some bad ones the last. You've seen some bad ones. Staley, Freddie Kitchens, Hugh Jackson, but that was right there as one of the worst.
Oh, that was absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. Now, moving on to the team that beat the Broncos on Monday night, the Seahawks, and they head to Santa Clara to play the 49ers. And in this game, I think this is a bounce-back game for the 49ers. I think if George Kittle could play, Trey Lance is going to be fine. I know Elijah Mitchell's out, but I think Jeff Wilson has a big day on the ground for the 49ers. And I do think Lance throws a couple touchdown passes. And I do think, Geno Smith makes some plays, but I definitely do think the Niners defense forced him to make mistakes. And that's why I got the Niners beating the Seahawks 28-13 in Santa Clara on Sunday. But Justin, can the Seahawks keep the momentum going and get their 5th straight win over the Niners?
Yeah, I don't think so. I got the Niners 27-14. I think it's a bounce back game for Lance. Yeah, those field conditions were not great. I'll give him a pass. I know I've been hard on him. I'll give him a pass for this game, but he's got to totally perform a lot better this week. Against the Seattle defense, that's not great. I think Seattle too. I think Seattle, now you get a short week. You just beat the Broncos and Russell Wilson. Like, I think, it's going to, you got a Niners team that did not play well last week. They lost to a bad Bears team that they should have beaten. So, yeah, I think the Niners, I think Seattle's in for a rough day. I think the Niners get after them. Geno Smith, and now this is going back to preseason. This is one thing. Geno Smith, he had to compete for that job. Look how sharp he was. He was what, 17 first?
Yeah, first half he was really good. He was really good in the first half. Yeah, because he had to compete. He had to compete for a job. He had to compete to get that starting job, and he was great in the first half.
Yeah, and the one incomplete pass was that drop pass. That was his one incompletion. He could have been perfect. So I definitely think he comes back down to earth this week, and I think the Niners beat them by a couple scores this week. I think it'd be a rough one for Seattle.
I think the big question for the Niners is with Jimmy Garoppolo there, if Trey Lance continues to struggle, do you go to him? In my opinion, the only way you go to Jimmy Garoppolo is if Trey Lance gets hurt. That's it. Trey Lance, right now, Trey Lance is your quarterback for better or for worse. You can go from the veteran to the rookie, but you can never go from the rookie to the veteran. You saw what happened with Tua and Flores in Miami when Flores kept rotating him and Fitzpatrick in and out. It didn't work. So I think Trey Lance is the quarterback for the 49ers for better or for worse. Unless he gets hurt, there's no way Jimmy G should see the field.
Yeah, I'm with you. Unless he's hurt, I just think I think you break Lance. I think there's possibly that break there,
and you cannot break a guy you gave up 3 first-round picks for.
Yeah, or Shanahan will be gone immediately. So
him and Lynch, absolutely, both of them will be gone.
Yeah, even though I think Lynch wanted Mac Jones, wasn't it? Wasn't that the theory? But who knows? I know one of them. I thought for
one of them did want Mac. One of them wanted Mac Jones.
Yeah,
but they both ended up making the decision, so they'll both be gone if this doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely, and they should be, yeah, because they gave up their entire future for this guy, and you break him, and they deserve not to have a job. So there's a lot of pressure on Lance. There's a lot of pressure on Shannon and Lynch for this guy to do well and compete in this division. So you got to stick with him. If there's a couple of rough bumps in the road, you got to just take them and just kind of swallow it and just move on to the next one, because you can't kill his confidence, or you're just they're not going to be, none of them will be around that long, even Trey Lance.
Exactly. So we got an NFC matchup at SoFi Stadium as the Falcons head to SoFi Stadium to face the Rams. And I think the Rams get right this week. I think the running game with Dontrell Henderson works. I think Stafford is a lot better than he was in the game against the Bills. And I think the Falcons make some plays on offense, but not enough. I think there's a turnover from Mariota. And that's why I got the Rams winning 27-16 over the Falcons. But Justin, can Mariota and Pitts have big games for the Falcons to pull the upset?
Yeah, I'd see the Rams bouncing back 28-14. They looked like they had a part of it was probably none of them put in the preseason, but another one was I think maybe a Super Bowl hangover because they got absolutely torched in that game. I think they played a lot better this week. I think Mariota definitely makes some plays. I think Cordell Patterson, once again, kind of does a little bit of everything, kind of makes some big plays, but it just won't be enough in this game. I think Mariota probably makes a couple interceptions, throws a couple interceptions this game. I think the Rams defensive line to make it very hard on them to kind of give them any time to find anybody. So I can see Patterson having a bunch of passes out there in the backfield, but I think it's going to be a long day for Atlanta. I have the Rams win by 2 scores.
Got an NFC North matchup on Sunday Night Football as the Bears take on the Packers. And the interesting thing is will Rodgers be able to build chemistry with his wide receivers? That's the big story on Sunday night. And I think it's not great, but it's better. And I do think the Packers defense forces some turnovers from Justin Fields. I think it's a close game for a half, but I do think the Packers pull away late in the third quarter. And that's why I got them winning 24-13 over the Bears. But Justin, can Fields lead the Bears to an upset win and a 2-0 start?
I think Fields in that offense, I think, they struggle this week. I got the Packers win this game 21-13. I thought Fields played well last week in the second half, with the conditions that they played in. I think Rodgers plays a little bit better. Rodgers has 61 TDs against the Bears in 27 games. I don't think Justin Fields is going to be able to compete with that. I think the Packers, chemistry-wise, I think it's a little bit better this week. Again, Rodgers didn't play at all in the preseason. I think it's another one. So I think the Bears do struggle. I think they probably make a couple mistakes in this game. I think, Packers get after Fields, get sacked a couple times, and I don't think they're going to have much of a running game this week. I think they're going to struggle times in this game as well. So I think the Packers bounce back and win this game.
Yeah, Packers got to win this game because coming up next, they got a really tough game against the Bucs. They got to really try to avoid an 0-3 start. I feel like this is in week 2. There usually isn't a must-win game. This is a must-win game for the Packers. Seeing what happened last week and seeing what they got next, going to Tampa Bay in week 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you're going down to Tampa Bay. It's not going to be easy. And I know we've only saw week 1, but the Vikings looked pretty good last week. I know some of it was the Packers. Just looked horrible, but I think the Vikings will be pretty good this year. So, it may not be like the last couple of years where they could win this division and by 3 or 4 games. Like, the Vikings may give them a nice run for the money this year. So, yeah, absolutely. I think if you go down 0-3 here and the Vikings – have Philly this week and then home against the Lions next week, they could be very well 3-0. You could already be 3 games back, after week 3. So, yeah, they'd be in a major hole here. So, absolutely, it's as close to a must-win as it gets for week 2.
Absolutely. We got Monday Night Football. We got an AFC matchup, a rematch of a Monday night game last year as the Titans travel to Buffalo to play the Bills. And from what I saw on Sunday from the Titans, I think the Bills are going to win this game, and I think the Bills are going to win it big. I think that Josh Allen's going to have another big game. I think he's going to throw another couple touchdown passes, and I think the Bills defense is going to do what the Giants defense did, contain Derrick Henry. And if Derrick Henry doesn't have over 100 yards, there's no way possible the Bills win this game because Ryan Tannehill is not keeping up with Josh Allen. I think Tannehill will throw a couple picks in this game. And I think the Bills win. I think they win in blowout fashion again. I got the Bills beating the Titans 31-13. But Justin, can Derrick Henry carry the Titans to their second straight win over the Bills?
I don't think so. I think I get the Bills 34-21. That Bills team, they think now going back, it's been like 3 straight games now that they have not punted, something like that, or they punted once in the last 3 games. I don't see this Tennessee. I think Tennessee has a hard time slowing them down. And I think because of that, they're going to be trailing, and it's kind of hard. They're not going to be able to rely a lot on Derrick Henry run the football because they're going to have to play from behind here. So I think, So I think, the Bills are probably keeping him in check. I think he's going to have a tough time really getting anything going here. And Tannehill ain't beating Josh Allen in a shootout. And I think that's how Tennessee has to win this game low scoring. And I just don't see that happening because, Tannehill ain't winning a shootout against Josh Allen, especially now he doesn't have A.J. Brown or Julio Jones.
Absolutely. There's no way. Yeah, no way he's winning a shootout against Josh Allen. We got the final game on the slate, and that is the second Monday night game between the Vikings and Eagles. Both teams coming off wins from last week, and I think this is a really close competitive game. I think Dalvin Cook is – you saw the Eagles last week, how much they struggled to stop the run. I think that continues this week. I think Dalvin Cook gets a big week on the ground. But I also do think the Eagles have a big week on the ground, too, with Miles Sanders. I think Jalen Hurts gets a lot of rushing yards. I think he has a good game, too. I think it comes right down to the end, but – I think that Kirk Cousins is going to have a drive down the field where he's going to hit Justin Jefferson and get the Vikings in a field goal range, and the Vikings take a game-winning field goal. That's why you got the Vikings going to 2-0, pulling the upset and beating the Eagles 31-28. But Justin, can Jalen Hurts lead the Eagles to a 2-0 start?
I get the Vikings as well, 31-27. I think this is going to be another fun one. I think Cousins plays well in this game. Yeah, I think Hurts in that offense scores. I think they do have some success against that defense, but I don't think it's enough. I think Kevin O'Connell would be great for Kirk Cousins. I think he's going to get the best out of Kirk, and I think Philly's going to be able to have a big day. AJ Brown had a huge 10 catch, 155 yards against the Lions last week. I just don't think I'll take that Vikings offense a little bit more right now. Kurt hasn't been great in these Monday night games. They're kind of a standalone game, but I think I'll take him right now over Jalen Hurts. I think they do a little bit more. I think both teams that have a lot of success offensively, but I'll take that Vikings offense with Justin Jefferson. I think he makes a couple big catches late in that game, and that's a difference maker.
Yeah, it very, very easily can be. But we got a big game in College Station on Saturday. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut.
All right, week 3 of the college football season is upon us, and, we got a game at noon with the number 1 team in the country, Georgia, going to Columbia to face South Carolina, and I think that Georgia has a big game. I think that Stetson Bennett has another big game, and I think the Georgia defense forces a couple turnovers from Spencer Rattler, and I think that Georgia wins this, and they win it going away 45-13, and Justin, I assume you got the same thing.
Yeah, Georgia 34-3. Rattler's been awful. I think he's got one of the worst QBRs for a Power 5 quarterback right now. He doesn't look good. I think Stetson Bennett's so confident right now, and I think that team believes in him. I think the fans finally believe in him. I think he plays really well. I think that defense gets after Rattler. I think it's been a long day for him. And Georgia, they're at the point now of they reload. They don't rebuild. They reload. They're there with Alabama, Ohio State, the great ones. So I think Georgia blows out South Carolina. I know South Carolina's trimmed them up a couple times, but it ain't happened this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that team had Jacob Fromm. I think a big reason why they got tripped up because they had Jacob Fromm at quarterback. I think that was the big reason why they got tripped up that one time. But I mean, the big question for Georgia is, should they be the number 1 team in the country? And I still don't think so. I still think it should be Alabama because Alabama went into Texas and won a game. Georgia pretty much beat Stanford and Oregon in a home game.
Yeah, the Oregon game was home game for him. I think up front now, Georgia doesn't have great weapons. Tight end, they have Washington and Gilbert whenever he comes back. But I think the line, offense, defense, the line, I think I'll take Georgia all day. Alabama the last 2 years has really not played well on the road. For whatever reason, I don't know what it is, but I think Alabama still has a lot of talent, but they don't have that wide receiver that's a huge difference maker this year. They did get Jeremiah Burton from Georgia, but he's not a first round guy. They're missing that Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith type guy this year. Right now I still get Georgia number one. I think they've been the one team that's really been dominant so far. They probably should have beaten Stanford probably by 50. They kind of took it a bit easy on them, but I like Georgia right now. I think on both sides of the ball they've been the best team so far in the country. Alabama right now, I have some concerns for them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens throughout the season between those two teams. But we got to talk about a game in Lincoln, Nebraska this week as number 6 Oklahoma travels to Lincoln to face Nebraska, who has just fired their head coach, Scott Frost. And I think that needed to happen. That happened 3 games too late. But, I think this game is a blowout. I think that Gabriel and Mims have big games, and I don't think Nebraska's going to be able to keep up with them. I got the Sooners winning 41-20, and I think you got to agree with me there.
I don't know how this game's going to go because Nebraska
really
always plays everybody tight. But with 22 transfers, I don't know if this is something where what happened with USC last year and this team just quits. Or I don't know if they fight for Scott Frost. I don't know what's going to happen in this game. I seriously have no idea.
Who's the interim coach?
Mickey Joseph, who
Gotcha.
has been assistant coach at college for, I think, 20, 25 years. He was on the LSU staff back in 2019 with that electrifying team, but I don't really know how this game's gonna go. I have some concern for Oklahoma right now. I didn't like the way they played against Kent State. They went 7 points at the half. I'll say Nebraska keeps us within 2 scores. Scott Frost, had to go. Yeah, I think they keep it close, and I think it was a perfect time because you got OU coming in. You give some, that fan base was chanting. The fans were chanting, or the students were chanting, fire Scott and all that. It's unfortunate because he was the favorite son there, and I think he was way over his head with this job. I think he got that UCF job. I don't think he was ready for Nebraska after getting that UCF job because there was a lot of mistakes he made.
Yeah, I definitely think he was not ready. But we got to move on to a big game, a rematch from last year. They're playing it between the hedges this year as Penn State heads to Auburn. And I think this is a close competitive game. I think that Sean Clifford has a good game. I think Nicholas Singleton, I think he'll have a pretty good game on the ground. I think Clifford will be able to get the ball to Strange, Lambert Smith, and Washington. I think they score points. The big question is, can Auburn keep up with Penn State offensively? I think Bigsby will have a good game, but I think Finley will have a little bit of trouble keeping up with Sean Clifford. That's why I think this is a close, competitive game. But in the end, I think Penn State might have a slow start. But in the end, I think Penn State ends up pulling this one out 31-24 over Auburn. But, Justin, can Auburn get revenge on what happened last year against Penn State?
Yeah, I have a hard time thinking that. I got Auburn win this game 24-20. TJ Finley's been horrendous.
You got Auburn.
Penn State. Yeah, Penn State. My bad. Penn State hasn't been great running the football the last couple of years. They were second to last year in the Big Ten. They have Singleton, who was one of the best running backs coming out of high school this year. Auburn's probably going to slow it down a little bit. I think Clifford makes enough plays. You have to take Sean Clifford over TJ Finley at this point. They do have Robbie Ashford, who's a 4-star. Transferred in from Oregon. They even gave him some Wildcat packages. I don't know what point they actually let him take over because he can't be any worse than TJ Finley. He's been horrendous. They only beat San Jose State by 11 points, and San Jose State a couple years ago was a top 25 team, but they're not anymore. I think Penn State wins this game. I think Finley makes a couple mistakes. Again, as long as James Franklin doesn't blow this game, I think they win it. Brian Harson's things are 80 left, the way things ended last year with Alabama. They all want him out. Auburn, I compare Auburn to the Cowboys because they have a couple big boosters that control every aspect of that team, and that's why they're always like this. They're either really good or they're mediocre because their boosters run everything. To me, another tough year for Auburn fans.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Big game on Saturday, but if they lose this one, yeah, they definitely could be in for a long year again. But we got a big matchup in Eugene as number 12 BYU heads to Eugene to face the Oregon Ducks. I think this is a close competitive game, but I think Christopher Brooks has a better game on the ground than he did against Baylor. And I do think Bo Nix plays well, but I do think, again, he makes the big mistake late. And that's why I got BYU staying undefeated and pulling the upset. But Justin, can Bo Nix get the Ducks to 2-1?
I don't think so either. I can't trust Bo Nix. I got the Cougars win this game 31-27. Yeah, I thought BYU, Baylor was really sloppy last week. I thought BYU did enough to win that game. They were not great on third down. I think they were 3 for 14. But yeah, I think Nix is going to make a couple mistakes in this game. And BYU is missing their 2 top wide receivers last week. I don't know if they'll be back or not, but if they are, I feel even more confident about BYU this week. I think Jaron Hall does enough with his legs and through the air that I think BYU goes in the Autzen Stadium, which nobody really wins there, but I think they pull it out. And, I think the Cougars find a way to win that game.
Yeah, that should be a really, really competitive game. But we got a matchup down in Death Valley as Mississippi State travels there to face LSU in Brian Kelly's first game. As first SEC game. And I think this is another really, really close game. I think the game goes right down to the wire, but I'm taking the team with the better quarterback, and I think Will Rogers will make more plays and less mistakes. And that's why I got Mississippi State beating LSU 34-27. But Justin, can Brian Kelly win his SEC opener?
Now I got the most fascinating head coach in college football, Mike Leach and his Bulldogs. I'd take Will Rogers over, Jaden Daniels any day of the week. That's been the one problem with Brian Kelly, Nordine, and he hasn't been able to develop a quarterback. And Daniels he's okay. I think Will Rogers torches that defense through the air. I think that team makes a bunch of big plays. I think the Bulldogs will win the Valley, win this game 31-24. I would not be shocked to see Mississippi State finish second or third in that division. I really wouldn't. I think Will Rogers and that offense, I think Mississippi State could, they're not being Alabama, but I think they could be really sneaky in that West. And I like the team. They got a ton of seniors. I think they go into Death Valley. I don't think they're phased. Again, the last time they were there, they put up 600 yards on them.
I remember that game. I remember watching that game. Yeah.
Yeah, the first game after in 2020 for the Tigers, it was a rough one. They won't put up that many this time, but I think the Bulldogs will find a way to get past them.
Yeah, and you made a good point that Mississippi State being the third best team in the SEC West, because obviously Alabama's one. I think Arkansas is two. I think Mississippi State's right there though, because I think Mississippi State is obviously better than the other 4 teams. I think they're definitely better than LSU. They're definitely better than Auburn. They're definitely better than Texas A&M, and I think they're better than. We'll see if they're better than Ole Miss. But yeah, I think you made a good point there. Mississippi State being the third best team in the SEC.
Yeah, ton of teams. Yeah, right there with them in Arkansas. Yeah, I think either of those 2 teams could be second or third. I'm interested if KJ Jefferson can be healthy all year. I think they run up too much where I think he's going to banged up yet again, and I think they could slip a bit. But yeah, I think both those teams are going to be fighting for second, third place. I know we'll get the A&M here too. There's a lot of issues there right now. So yeah, I think Mississippi State's got a really good chance, and it's great. I love Mike Leach. He's one of the best out there. And I'm hoping he could. He's great at winning at spots that are really tough to do. Texas Tech, Washington State, Mississippi State, 3 toughest Power 5 jobs out there, and he's won there at every stop. And Mississippi State, I would not be shocked to see him build something there too.
We got a matchup of 2 undefeated teams in Raleigh on Saturday night as Texas Tech faces NC State. But for Texas Tech, NC State's a better team than Houston, and they're going to show that on Saturday. Devin Leary's going to have a big game. I feel like Donovan Smith's going to make some mistakes, and that's why I got NC State winning 31-20 in Raleigh on Saturday night. But can Texas Tech beat another ranked team to go to 3-0?
I don't think so. I like Joey McGuire and what he's done so far at Texas Tech. I think he fits that school well, and I think the players really respond to him. I think they've looked really good, but I got NC State win this game 34-21. I think they're going to struggle, and I think Donovan Smith's going to struggle because NC State's best spot in defense is their secondary. I think they'll be really tough on them. They got a lot of talent in that secondary, so I think Texas Tech struggles in that, and I think Devin Leary makes enough plays against that defense, which is a little bit better than usual, but I still think NC State's going to be able to put up some points against them. This is a good Wolfpack team. I know they struggled against East Carolina, but it was week 1. You kind of forgive them. I think they play really well, and they won by a couple scores here against the Red Raiders.
Got a big game out they play in Seattle, right? The Huskies?
Yeah, Seattle. Yep.
Big game out in Seattle as Michigan State heads out there to face the Washington Huskies. Former Big Ten quarterback Michael Penix is the quarterback of Washington. So you got Peyton Thorne against Michael Penix. And I think this is a really, really close competitive game. But I'm going to take the better quarterback in the game. I'm going to take Peyton Thorne and the Michigan State Spartans and Mel Tucker and the Spartans to go to 3-0 and beat Washington 27-20. But, Justin, can Penix keep the Huskies unbeaten?
I think so. I think Washington gets this game 27-24.
Ooh! You like the Huskies. You like the Washington Huskies.
I like the way Penix has played so far, and this is under head coach DeBoer. I think his name. I can't remember. But he was the Indiana coordinator a couple years ago with Michael Penix in 2020 when they had a phenomenal year. I think that was Penix's best year. Again, as long as he stays healthy, I think he could be really good at Washington this year. I think they could win the North. Oregon's got Bo Nix. You can't trust Bo Nix. And I haven't liked the way Peyton Thorne's played against 2 bad teams. He's really struggled. He's hit a couple big plays, but his completion percentage hasn't been great. I'll take Washington with that defense as well. I'll take the Huskies. That Saturday evening up there. I'll take Penix to get the job done. I think Jimmy Lake was another guy last year who was just horrible. A lot of mistakes he made there. I think you're seeing a big difference with Washington's team could play. I'll take the Huskies to get the win against Sparty.
We got the big one on Saturday night in College Station as Miami heads to College Station to face Texas A&M. And in this game, I'm taking the team with the better quarterback. I'm taking CT's own Tyler Van Dyke. I'm taking the team with the better quarterback. I think he doesn't make the mistakes. I think the Texas A&M quarterback, what's his name? King Haynes. I think he makes a couple mistakes. Haynes King. I think he makes a couple mistakes. I think Texas A&M was completely overrated at the start of the season. I don't get how they were the number 6 team in the country. They're the number 6 team in the country. They lose to Appalachian State at home. And College Game Day said, too, we're going to Appalachian State instead of this game because Texas A&M lost. I think this is going to be a close competitive game. But at the end of the day, I'm taking CT's own Tyler Van Dyke, and I'm taking Roscoe Parrish's cousin, Henry Parrish Jr., I'm taking those 2 guys to help Miami stay undefeated and knock off the Aggies, give them their second loss. I got Miami and Mario Cristobal winning 24-20 over Texas A&M.
Yeah, I got A&M winning this game. I got Miami winning this game 27-20. For me, remember a couple years ago, A&M hosted Clemson, and nobody thought they had a fighter's chance. And again, they had it close, and I forgot who fumbled it, and it went in the end zone. They thought it went out the 1. Clemson got the ball back at 20, and that was about it. It was like a touchdown game. Kelly Bryant, I think, was still playing quarterback at Clemson. I could see that happening where nobody's giving A&M a chance, but I watched Haynes King. He's got no confidence. You remember Max Johnson at LSU last year, right?
Yeah, I did. Yep.
He's the back quarterback, and he could play.
Wow. They got to put him in.
Jimbo's too stubborn. He's way too stubborn. I don't get it. And the quarterback whisper thing that, again, he hasn't developed a quarterback since James Winston. He hasn't had a quarterback since then that's averaged over 300 yards per game and have a completion percentage over like 65%. He has not been good. You know what his buyout is? You know what his buyout is right now? If this thing gets really bad.
Yeah. What's the buyout?
$85 million is his buyout.
Wow.
So they can't. So they may not win. So if they somehow don't win another game this year, they can't fire him. There's no way you can fire him.
That's crazy.
That's college sports right now with the buyouts and all that. I don't know why you don't start Max Johnson. I could see A&M. So when again the Appalachian State ran 82 plays last week. A&M only ran 38. That I don't know how they come back and win this game. Again, Kyle Field's a tough place to play. They have a great atmosphere. Miami didn't look great either against Southern Miss. Frank Gore kid played. He had a rough day. He had like 9 carries and no yards, but because he's actually pretty good. But I got Miami in this game. I don't like crystal ball in a spot like this, but I can't take Jimbo in that offense right now. It just it's horrible. And I don't know if part of it's too the number one recruiting class and you have all these NIL stuff. I don't know if that's something where some of these guys make so much money now that are they just in it now for the money and not really a team. I have no idea, but Jimbo's got some issues. A&M can't really do much about it right now. I got to take Miami, even though I'm not a big fan of it, but I can't take A&M at this point.
But why was Texas A&M ranked so high? If their offense was this terrible, they lost Isaiah Spiller, why were they even ranked a top 10 team before the season? I called it they were overrated. I knew they were overrated. I
was right there with you. I agree. I was right there too. I didn't think they were top 10. The recruiting class was huge. They thought Haynes King was going to actually develop this year, and they thought Jimbo would be able to do a good job with him, which I didn't think so because I was excited for him to get Kellen Mond. I thought he was going to do some really good things with Kellen Mond. Even that year they went 9-1. I still didn't. They didn't belong with Alabama. Like he played well, but when they played Alabama, he got at. They didn't look like they should be on the same field. So I didn't trust Jimbo. Everybody still thinks Jimbo's a great coach, and I don't see it. I don't see it right now. Again, I think he was a decade ago, but when he had Jameis, but I don't see it right now. He's really not. He's above average, but again, sometimes A&M wanted a coach that wanted to find that quarterback and get him in the right step.
And they haven't found it.
No. And even this stat. So through the first 50 games, Kevin Sumlin was 36-14. Jimbo's 35-15.
Wow.
I know it's one game off, but do you really think Kevin Sumlin was going to get off to a better start in the first 50 than Jimbo? Not really. So A&M will be lucky to go 8-4 this year. They really will. Its team is 6-6 running all over it or worse.
Oh, absolutely. I think they lose to Arkansas. I think they obviously lose to Alabama. I think they lose to Miami. I think they lose to they could lose to Ole Miss. So yeah, 8-4, 7-5, 6-6. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
No, me neither. And this offense is just their defense may keep them in some games, but really, I thought Appalachian State pushed them around too. You know, they got Florida too, and their crossover as well. They got UMass at least. They should be UMass by a couple scores, but there's not too many games where you can check them off for a win.
No, not at all. But we got to talk about the best team in the Pac-12, and that's USC, and they proved it last week. They played really well last week, and I think they play really well again at home against Fresno State. I got them winning 41-20 over Fresno State. I think we're going to see another big game from Caleb Williams.
Yeah, we'll see when Caleb Williams plays an actual defense.
Ooh.
He did not play great at times against some good teams last year. You know, I'm still a little bit unsure about him. But look, I think Fresno State's going to give him, because I think, you know, I think the big thing right now is going to be their defense for Fresno State. You know, Fresno State's offense is going to give him some challenges. Jake Haener's a really good quarterback. I think they could kind of spread the ball around, and I think they'll keep this thing close. I think USC will win this game. I don't think Fresno's going to be able to make enough stops. They lost by a field goal last week. It's a good Oregon State team. I think USC does get the win. I'm still going with my Utes. It's on August 8th. It's August 15th. They play out in Salt Lake City. If USC wins that game, I will admit that USC is the best team in the Pac-12. But till then, I still don't trust USC up front. I'll take USC to win this game, but I think Fresno State could keep this thing really close.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what ends up happening there. But we got rule changes in Major League Baseball. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at at Shamrock Home Inspections.
There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit ShamrockHomeInspectionCT.com.
All righty. Aaron Judge has been unbelievable for the Yankees. I mean, 57 home runs, 123 RBIs. The next closest in home runs is Kyle Schwarber with 37. The next closest in RBIs is Pete Alonso with 110. So right now, Aaron Judge is clearly going to be the MVP. There's no way you give it to Shohei Ohtani. Right now, Judge is clearly the MVP.
Oh, absolutely. He's put this team on his back. Now, I don't know why Boston pitched to him last night with nobody on. I think there was 2 outs at that point in the ninth inning. But I know he's absolutely carried the team. He's gonna break Roger Maris's record. He's been unbelievable. Yeah, there's no way that the MVP should go to Ohtani. Again, he's been a great player, but Judge has carried the team on his back, and they're not in the spot that they are right now without Aaron Judge. There's no way. So absolutely, Aaron Judge deserves MVP.
Yeah, and I mean, they might be a playoff team without him, but I don't think they'd be winning that division. I think they'd probably be in third place.
Probably the way the Blue Jays and the Rays are playing, absolutely. I think they'd probably be a third place team at this point. So yeah, I think they probably would be. That certain pitcher would probably help them out, but yeah, they wouldn't go far, and they still may not. But with Judge, they're definitely a World Series contender. I don't know, without Judge, they're not.
No, not at all. But he's just been absolutely phenomenal. And when they announce the awards, it better say Aaron Judge MVP.
Yeah, absolutely. There's probably still gonna be a few voters that go with Ohtani. There definitely will be, but yeah, absolutely. There's no way that Aaron Judge can lose this thing. There's no way.
Oh, absolutely not. There's absolutely not. No way he can lose it. But last week, baseball actually did something right, and they made some rule changes. And I think these rule changes are all. I mean, defensive shifts. I'm a little up and down on, but I really like the pitch clock. The pitch clock is something and I like the bigger bases in the pitch clock, but the pitch clock is the biggest rule change, probably one of the best things baseball has done in years. Yes, the runner on second base in extra innings, that's a really good thing, but the pitch clock is so crucial. How many times you watching these baseball games and they just take forever? They take forever to throw the ball. They take like a minute. They take a minute and a half to throw the ball. 15 seconds, then it's 20 seconds of a runner is on. Keep the game moving. The problem with baseball, the biggest issue with baseball, especially with the younger generation, is pace of play. The pace is absolutely terrible with baseball. But now, with this pitch clock, it's definitely going to change. I feel like it's going to change things, and it's going to bring more younger viewers because there's going to be more action. The games are going to be shorter. They're going to be, instead of 3.5 hours, they're probably going to be like 2:45 instead of 3.5 hours, like almost there could be 2.5 hours instead of 3.5 hours. It's definitely going to change things. And you saw it in the minor leagues the last couple of years with the pitch clock. Games are a lot quicker and there's more action.
Yeah, there definitely has been. The pitch clock is great. It'll be interesting too, because the hitters now too, they don't have 40 seconds to kind of think what's coming. Like the hitters are gonna have to make a quick adjustment of kind of figuring out what they think's coming. But yeah, like Sawamura, I think he averages about 40 seconds in between pitches. Like that's just way too, especially like pitch comp now. It's not like you go, back and forth a million times. I feel like, because you just hit the button, you reject it. They give you something quick again. It's just, it's so good for the game because these minor games, they fly by because, they're 15, 20 seconds long, the pitches. So it helps too. I feel like it helps too in the minors because guys are aggressive because they want to be, because they feel like, the better chance of getting promoted instead of trying to just kind of walk. But still, I still think these games are going to be a lot quicker, especially too when, on school nights or just work nights or whatever. Again, a 7:00 game, sometimes down to that ballpark to 10:30 at night. It's a long night. So yeah, maybe this helps baseball too, attendance wise, get more people in the ballpark, in the early months of the season.
And get people more attentive. I've seen baseball crowds. There's no attention. There's not a lot of attention to the game. This will get people more attentive on the game.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right too. Yeah, because instead of just sitting around waiting 40 seconds and you're kind of just kind of staring at the space or looking around or walking around the park. Cause because it's so slow. But yeah, it definitely will. So it's a good thing for baseball. The defense shifts things. Yeah, I go back and forth. I think it's good that there's not, because something I bet you were taught this too playing baseball. You're taught. I know I was taught to hit the ball at the middle, back where it came from. That's been a hit the last 100 years, and now it's not. There's a guy always playing second base. Now I do get the point of, okay, they should try to go opposite field, because I know everybody tries to pull the baseball nowadays. I get it, but I get the point. I think it's a bigger point of, up the middle. It's like that's where all these guys were taught to baseball. You can't do that anymore. So I feel like it's good for the sport. And yeah, the bigger bases too. Yeah, it should help player safety, because it seems like every year you see a bunch of guys break a finger, or we've seen occasional ankle or foot injuries from this. So I think absolutely, it's good that the bases too kind of getting a couple inches bigger. It's gonna help player safety as well.
With these new rules, you're going to get an 8-7 game that goes 30 minutes that ends 30 minutes earlier than a 3-2 game with these new rules. That's why these new rules are great. That's why these new rules have potential to make baseball more popular, because you're going to get a higher scoring game in less time. That's what you want in sports. You don't want these 3-2 games taking 3.5 hours. That's not entertaining. You want an 8-7 game that takes 3 hours. That's entertaining. That's why anybody who complains about these rules is too worried about. They're not evolving. They're not. You're not being progressive. If you're not worried, if you don't like these rules, you're not being progressive. You're just like the way things the way they are, and the things the way they are in baseball. That's why it's clearly the number 4 sport in America, because it doesn't have the pace or the scoring of the NFL, of the NBA, or of college football. This is what's going to make it. Now, it's not ever going to compete with the NFL, but I think this is what's going to try. These rules are what is going to make it compete with, the NBA, college football. These rules are really, really, in my opinion, going to help this sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Because nobody, no other sport's ever going to touch the NFL for many years. But the NFL doesn't, there's no point shaving incidents, right? That's like the one thing probably killed the NFL. But yeah, like the NBA, I think they compete with, because the NBA final ratings weren't great. They weren't off the wall. I think baseball could compete with that, especially if the Yankees, Dodgers. I think they compete with that. So absolutely, I think it will help the sport of baseball. I don't think hockey will ever catch them, but hockey is slowly but surely has made some progress here. But yeah, I think it's gonna be good for the sport of baseball again. Especially in the playoffs too, and they start these games at 8:00. Sometimes it goes 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. It's tough to stay up, so yeah, absolutely. I think it definitely does help the sport. It'll help the ratings wise, and we want to see more action, and I think this will definitely help the sport. That we'll get. I've heard stories of some games back in the 70s and 80s that it's like 11-10 game, but it takes under 3 hours, which to me is crazy, because that would be a 4.5, 5 hour game right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to wrap up the show talking about Robert Sarver and his 1 year suspension from the NBA and $10 million fine. And yes, right. He definitely. I'm definitely happy he got suspended, but I think this punishment is soft. I think he should have lost his team for the comments he made, saying the N-word when you're owning an NBA team. I think he should have just lost. I think he should have lost his team. I think this punishment is a little bit soft. Yeah,
and right. I think it's like the other sports where it's up to kind of the commissioner, and I don't, and I think that comes down to politics of where all these owners are together. It's tough to kind of vote off these owners. It's tough to, you're going to lose some of the owners. I completely agree with you. I don't think you should be saying that type of stuff as an owner. I think it's ridiculous, and I don't think you should own a team. Again, we're seeing it with Washington, Miami, the National Football League. Those 2 owners shouldn't have a team anymore, but they still do. It's unfortunate. It does hurt kind of the image. But yeah, I don't see how this guy should be able to hold the team anymore. I know he owns the Phoenix Mercury too. It seems wrong that guy's still an owner.
Yeah, she should be done. They should force him to sell both teams for the comments he made. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking week 3 of the NFL season, week 4 of the college football season, and any baseball news that comes our way. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley. And Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part. Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees are not. They're even close to the best organization in baseball.
They're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.